Well, hey there, YouTube. AG Ender coming to you today from the shed. Going to do some pouring. But first, I wanted to do kind of a little walkthrough for those who haven't seen one done or would like to get into pouring. Kind of show you my method. It works. It may not be the best, but it does work, and you get some good results out of it. First thing you want is your setup. You want to have somewhere set up where you can pour, where it's safe, where you're not going to burn something down, of course. I've got a cast iron pan here with some fire brick inside and another paver brick underneath, so it keeps the heat off the workbench. And a couple of bricks here to kind of have a backdrop if the heat gets too much radiating out toward the wall. Get one of these whip handles. There are a couple different styles. This one I like. It's actually the only one I've had so far, but it gets the job done. It locks in on these dishes here. I do have 3 different sizes. I'm going to do the small one here to begin with, because I'm going to pour a couple little Zelda shield bars here this morning. This is something else you want. You don't have to get a design on a mold. It can just be a basic, like this one here, a hexagon shape. This one's a little bit larger hexagon. Others have started out with these kind of basic molds. They're just rounds. This helps you start to learn how to pour. They're a little bit small, so they're tricky even once you get to pouring. Most of the time I'll use these if I'm trying to melt down a larger chunk, 5-10 ounce bar, and I want little pieces so I can make smaller stuff. Also, you can start getting a little more design in molds. This one, California. I do have an Oregon mold as well. Of course, you want silver. With this batch I have a bunch of rounds, so I'm going to melt them down. They're these Prospector rounds from Provident, I do believe. Of course, you want your fuel. I'm going to be using matte gas. And then the torch I'm using, it actually has an auto light feature. Benzomatic, I believe it was the T99. But after a while, you can see the melting going on here. They do kind of screw up that auto light, so you end up having to use a lighter anyway. First thing you want to do with these is coat them in borax, which doesn't have to be anything special. It's just a flux material, but laundry detergent booster. Get it right off the shelf in a grocery store. But you want to do that because these are quite porous, and if you start melting the metal inside of them, you'll lose silver inside that you'll never get back because it's going to sink into the pores. So this kind of makes a kind of a glass, so it floats over the top. I do have some here in a bag already. I think we'll move on to that part. I will pause and come right back when I get things a little more set up to start preparing the dish here. So I will see you in a moment. So I've got the torch going. I got the dish heating up. You kind of want to get it a little heated up first, so when you put the borax in, it has something to stick to. The heat will melt it a little bit right away. If you don't, the torch kind of blows it all out, kind of like a fine powder, and it's going to do that regardless, but the hotter you get it to start with, the more it's going to stick and the less you're going to lose and have to clean up later. You'll see how much editing I do with this part. This does take a little bit of time, so I won't make the video 30-40 minutes long. I'll cut some of this out. It's kind of tough to see with the lighting right now, but it does start to glow when you get the heat on it. And that's where you want to start putting the borax, is right in the middle where it's glowing. See if I can show you. See how it's glowing there in the middle. So I'll get a little bit of borax in there. And you just do a pinch at a time. You don't have to fill up the whole bowl right away because you're going to melt it down and it's going to be a fluid. But you kind of want to just roll around and coat the inside. And I kind of go around in circles and try and stay a little further away so it doesn't blow it all out. And you can see here, once it melts, it kind of turns into little globs. So then you just heat it up until those little blobs start to smooth out and seep into the pores and coat everything. You just kind of roll it around. It is tough to see because the flame's so bright inside the dish, but you can kind of see it starting to coat the bottom of this dish. and get a nice kind of glossy finish on there. The one part you want to make sure to cover real well with the borax is the spout, because that's going to see the most action where you pour the silver out of, so you want that to flow nice and smooth so it doesn't get caught up and you don't get globs there or lose some of it in the process. I'm going to add another pinch here. A little more than a pinch, but I may not need any more after I get this part done. Well, like I said, you just get it nice and hot. It kind of turns into a liquid. You can see it moving around in there, filling all the pores. You want to be careful, of course, that you don't drip it out on your hands. I'm not doing this completely properly. You do probably want to wear gloves. I prefer not to myself, but many others do recommend gloves, as do I, even though I don't do it myself. But you just, like I said, roll it around and you can see the borax as it melts and flows around and fills in all the spots that aren't. There's a different texture versus between where the borax is gone and where it hasn't yet. You see kind of a rough texture versus a smooth texture, and you kind of see it like a glass kind of flowing all around. You can kind of see it in there now. What I'll do here, once I get this done, I'll turn the light on and get a little bit better view of it. I need just another pinch in here. So we're just about done here. I'm going to pause once again and let this cool off and show you how it looks. And right there, the borax is starting to pool up in the spout and it's starting to pour out just a little bit. You can kind of see it there. And that's kind of what you want, especially on that spout part. And if it does drip out, hold it over your dish or your fire brick so it doesn't do any damage to anything that you don't want damaged. We're just about there with this dish, so I will come right back and show you how a finished prepared dish looks. Pause. I will be right back and show you how the finished dish looks. So here it is finished. You can see the glossy finish all the way around, especially there on the spout. And you can see the crack starting to form inside, and you can hear it as it's cooling off. Of course, something else you want is a tasty beverage. It's morning, so I've got coffee right now. Later on, it'll be a soda or a beer or a cocktail. You never know. Right now, it's coffee, but you want to enjoy what you're doing while you're doing the silver. It is quite fun to do. It is enjoyable. It's a little frustrating to start with because you've never done it and you're trying to learn. So you're going to make mistakes. Don't let that get you down. Nothing's a finished product until you're satisfied with it. You can remelt it however many times you want. You will have some loss each time you melt it though, so take that into account. You might have to add some more silver if you're using silver shot or smaller fractional rounds, or you can even take these rounds and cut them up. There are others I've seen, you can heat them up and then cut them with a pair of metal shears. You get them soft so they cut easy. If you don't want to go that route, you can put them in a vise and bend them back and forth with a pair of vice grips. That works as well. I've done that. So we're going to let that cool just a little bit more, and I will come back for a pour. I'm going to kind of break this up into a couple parts in the video wise. So this is the end of part one, kind of the prep and some of the materials that you would like to have. But I will be right back with the next video. I thank you for stopping by. Like, shares, comments, subscriptions, it's all appreciated. AG Ender signing off. I will see you on the next one.